Another morning in San Cristobal and another uphill walk to see a church. This one's in our neighborhood of Guadalupe, and it's only about 5 blocks from our Airbnb. It's the Church of the Virgin of Guadalupe. It was Sunday morning, so services were being held, and in typical Mexican fashion, there were a couple of cute little dogs hanging outside. Our travels this day wouldn't take us too far outside of San Cristobal, but we did hit a few interesting spots. The first of which is the Tzotzil Maya village of San Juan de Chamula. San Juan Chamula is known for having this church where they blend the traditional Mayan beliefs with the colonial Catholic beliefs in an interesting way. You're not allowed to film inside the church, and actually they kind of frown on filming in the community in general. But we did show up on a Sunday, and it was a festival day, so there were a lot of Maya in town, which was nice. And I apologize for filming everything kind of on an angle. I was trying to be discreet.
Do you have a little besito for me?
Yep, whole bag full.
Is it in your bag?
Yep. The second Mayan village we visited was called Zincutan, and there were less people there because I think everybody was over in San Juan Chamula, but it was still an interesting stop. These are very, indigenous villages. There's no outside people living there, and they're actually independent from Mexico in a sense, like they're run autonomously. So it was kind of interesting seeing that. When we returned to San Cristobal, culture was a brewing. There was a folkloric ballet festival. I think it was over the whole weekend, and we walked into the square and saw this. It's actually the traditional dancers from Chiapas, so that was interesting to see.
And culture broke out.
We were a bit tired from our day, so we decided to head home and have a little siesta and a snack. And then we came back later to watch more dancing. This is our Airbnb, by the way. After a light meal and some libations, we returned down to the plaza to watch some more dancing. And yeah, it was fun. Some colorful costumes, and it was really great setting with having the ladies in their colorful dresses in front of the cathedral like that. We made another drive southeast out of San Cristobal, down past Comantan again to yet another archaeological site called Chincoteac. It's a smaller Mayan ruin in the jungle. Not as extensive as Tenampuente. It had, a couple of ball courts and plazas and one main temple that you climbed up to. But overall, a little less impressive, but still worth visiting. It was free. That was good. And actually, we ran into some other tourists there. They're from France. Weren't expecting to see anybody there because it was kind of out of the way. It's very hot and humid. It was a fairly hot and humid climb up to the temple. Again, a lot of stairs. Not as many as El Chiffon, but still in the heat. Definitely a sweaty mess by the time I got to the top. But great views of the surrounding countryside and some of the colorful lakes in the distance. More on those in a bit. After visiting the temple at Chincoteac, we made a short 15-minute drive to this, it's a national park called Lagunas de Montebello. And we just went to one area of it where these different colored lakes were just short little hikes off the road. The first one we went to here was called Laguna de Agua Tintada. And then across the street was Agua de Esmeralda. Very vibrant colors. And then we finished it off at the blue one, which was called Laguna de Ensueños, which means Lake of Dreams. And I wish I had the courage to have flown my drone here. I did hunt down one of the park officials and ask, and he asked another guy, and they came to the consensus that I couldn't because I was a foreigner fly my drone. But really, I could have gotten away with it, and it would have been amazing because the colors were actually way more vibrant from further away. Still beautiful, though. We ended the day with a stop in the city of Comantan. It's the third largest city in Chiapas. We've been there before, but that was back in 1997, so it's been a while. We had lunch, and then we were just walking back to where we parked the car, and we saw this cathedral in the distance, so we went over to check it out. It was, quite an interesting building. And then the long drive home. The next morning we got up early because we had to drive to Palanque, which was, 5.5 to 6 hour drive. It's not that far. It's only like 300 kilometers or something. But, again, the roads are slow and a lot of tow pace. It was foggy when we left. So driving through some of the higher elevation Mayan towns was kind of interesting. We made one stop along the way at Agua Azul, which is a series of cascadas. With, again, that brilliant blue water. It's also very developed. Like it's not pristine nature in the sense that it's undeveloped, but it is certainly very beautiful. We stayed in a little resort place that was actually just tucked inside the gate of Palanque National Park. So, we were close, but we still had to navigate our way there, pay our money, get the shuttle bus, get transferred up. We'd been to Palanque before back in 1997, and we spent 2 days. You could get a 2-day ticket, and so we spent one day touring the ruins, and then the next day sort of touring the park. But for this trip, we just did basically a morning at Palanque, and then spent the afternoon relaxing. We went into Palanque town as well, but yeah, I mean, it's a gorgeous ruin. One of the best Mayan ruins, top three for sure that I've been to. But it is again getting more developed. They've extended the Tren Maya all the way from Cancun, and one of the terminal arms is in Palenque. So they've developed all this massive tourist infrastructure, and as a result, Palenque is seeing more visitors. But still really enjoyable. I mean, it's certainly an impressive. When we first arrived on site, the morning light was really brutal for filming. So we just sort of walked around for a bit, checking out the different buildings, the Temple of Inscriptions there, and the main palace. Then Kira kind of wandered off into the forest following some howler monkeys, and I lost her for about an hour. So I actually did a couple laps of Palenque over the course of the morning, but it was all good. Later in the day, once the sun had risen a little bit, I could get up into the palace there and walk around and take some good footage of it. Enjoy. The day after visiting Palenque, we set off early in the morning. For one, we had to drive all the way to Villahermosa, which actually wasn't that far from Palenque, but we also wanted to go visit a waterfall where I could fly my drone. So we headed to this village called Professor Roberto Barrios that has a waterfall of the same name, and yeah, stunning. It's a series of 5 cascading waterfalls, and we pretty much had the place to ourselves. There were a few Mexicans doing some canyoneering tourism in the river itself, And of course, there were howler monkeys to keep us company. I also lost Kira here for a while, but I found her again. Our final stop was to see these giant Olmec heads. They're in Villahermosa, but they come from a place called Laventna, and we're not really familiar with Olmec culture, but they did make these huge stone heads. These cute little guys kind of stole the show. Villahermosa is the capital of the Mexican state of Tabasco. It's a fairly modern city, but it does have an old colonial downtown core to it, which we explored. And this bridge over the river, that's an observation tower, but it was closed, so we didn't get to go up into it. Other than the long drive back to the airport in Tuxtla, this was pretty much it for our trip. Hope you enjoyed it.